Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to my in-depth look at this month's full supermoon in Taurus. It's on the 5th of November. It's at 13 degrees and 23 minutes, and it's at 13 hours and 20 minutes universal time. Well, here we go with another full moon, but this, of course, is a supermoon, and it's Taurus. So the sun, of course, is in Scorpio, and we have this Scorpio energy in tension to the moon in Taurus. What can that evoke? Because we have to think about the qualities of both signs. The sun in Scorpio is showing us and shedding light on things that are hidden. You know, Scorpio is a very secretive sign, a very private sign. And there is huge potential in the sign of Scorpio for enormous transformation, transition to higher levels of consciousness. Now, Taurus, as a complete opposite, is earth. It's earthy, it's fixed. Scorpio's fixed as well, but water. And of course, Taurus is about our body, our comfort, how we feel, how material feels on our skin, how we nourish ourselves on an internal level. Too many nice things, too many tasty, sweet things, perhaps. And of course, this is a supermoon. So we take all of that into consideration when we look at the energies of a lunation. Now, a supermoon just means that the moon at the moment is going to be much closer in literal distance from planet Earth. And so this has an effect on not only what can be the tectonic plates, in the sense that we may see more Earth events that it can cause Earth tremors, it can cause significant changes in weather, bearing in mind Neptune has just gone back into Pisces. We may see more flooding. That is the kind of energy that we can see around this full moon. Now, we also need to think about the ruling planets of both Taurus and Scorpio. But before I get on to that, let's ask Jerry to upload the chart. And hopefully it's there this time. I daren't look. Oh, yes, I think it is. Because, of course, with the new moon, Jerry, well, we forgive him, don't we? He just got a little bit discombobulated, but he's awfully sorry. And hopefully the chart is there this time. So let's just have a look at this chart, because as I was saying, we need to look to the rulers of both Scorpio and Taurus. And also just to reassure you that all your zodiac signs will be time-stamped and in the description box by the lovely Jerry. And I will, of course, look at the area of your chart where this full moon is going to be most is going to trigger, let's put it that way, which of course is the Taurus part of your chart. So let's start with Scorpio, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And Mars, interestingly, on the 5th of November, is making a sextile. It's not quite exact, but it's making a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. So this is different energy, because remember, we had the square from Mars to Pluto, from Scorpio to Aquarius, and now we've got the sextile. Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. So therefore, their energy does have a dominance. Mars, we know, is about action, energy, assertion. Its shadow side can be aggression, war, assault, anger. And Pluto, that also, as I said, rules Scorpio, is about transformation, transition, enormous change. But also, of course, it also has a shadow side, which can be endings, maybe abrupt endings, because it's still in a trine, and that's a kind of ongoing trine it's going to have with Uranus in Gemini. And Uranus brings sudden events. And so Mars and Pluto in sextile is helpful. And Mars is in Sagittarius, which I feel has a similarity to the Piscean energy of no boundaries, because Sagittarius's ruler is Jupiter, and Jupiter just expands. So there's something expansive about the assertion, the energy that is around, that can transform with this full moon. Is it good or is it bad? Well, of course, energy, in a sense, is neutral until we assign symbolism to it. And that's what I'll endeavour to do. So let's just think about that. We've got that Mars sextile Pluto, but Mars is also in opposition to Uranus in Gemini. Now, this is a big deal because, of course, let's just look at Uranus first of all. Uranus only just 6 minutes within the boundaries of Gemini, soon to move back into Taurus. Now, Mars opposite Gemini. Gemini is about thought, ideas, communication, the spoken word. Uranus, now, that's a planet about shock and surprise and upheaval, rebellion, freedom of speech. So in Gemini, it's really quite comfortable because it can say what it thinks. And opposite Mars in Sagittarius, Sagittarius, a fire sign, Gemini, air. This is very combustible. And I wonder whether events that are happening around the full moon on the 5th of November, which just happens in the United Kingdom to be what is known as Guy Fawkes Day, because we had this historical figure in the past called Guy Fawkes, who decided he'd blow up the Houses of Parliament with the government inside them. He actually got stopped before it happened, and he'd put lots of explosives into sort of the basement of the Houses of Parliament, and he was prevented, which maybe was a shame at the time. I don't know what the politics were at the time, but I'm sure there are many people in the United Kingdom. In fact, there are probably many people throughout the planet that would like to put something that causes a bit of mayhem into the basements of their particular governments. Just saying. So this is interesting that we have the full moon on this date. And coming back to Uranus, because Uranus, you see, is about freedom of speech and rebellion. Mars, I wonder what is going to be quite explosive around the energy of the full moon. Now, full moons, we know, traditionally mean the conclusion of something, the ending of something, the resolution of something. And it is Taurus. And Taurus is a fixed earth sign. It's about value. It's about, really being physically quite solid. And I don't mean that in an overweight way, just in the fact that you have weight and substance. So, I wonder, I think with this Uranus opposite Mars, we might see, because Mars is not that far away from Mercury. Now, Mercury, and I believe it's on, and just let me check my notes. Yeah, Mercury is going retrograde on the 9th of November in Sagittarius. Now, this is interesting because, of course, what this means is Mercury is in its shadow phase, which means it's going to come back over this degree, so that when it gets beyond 5 or 6 degrees Sagittarius on its way back through, it'll then be in virgin territory, so to speak, on this particular journey around the sun. I wonder what news is going to come out that is extraordinary, explosive, shocks us, Uranus, and maybe even makes people want to take to the streets to express their displeasure, and to really sort of shout out, I don't agree with this. This is not how it should be or could be. So we could see rebellious behavior, whether it's vocally, whether it's the written word, whether it's on the news channels, whether it's about a particular person, because we have to remember that the sun in Scorpio in opposition to the moon can represent a leader. So there could be something about energy that goes on at this time, which is really directed towards a leader, which is saying, he, she has to go. We don't agree with this person. Now, let's just have a little think also about the ruler of Taurus, Venus, because Venus currently is in Libra. And Libra, of course, is the sign she also rules. So she is really, absolutely allowing herself the luxury of feeling very well represented. So Venus rules the full moon. So this kind of implies to us that we have a beneficial, an intuitive, a worthwhile energy that says that whatever it is that goes, maybe via disruption or literally someone being ousted from power, will be good and will have a good effect in the coming weeks. So those are the sort of main things that I'm picking up straight away without even going to my notes. But now I'm going to go through my notes just to see what I've missed out. Okay, now Venus is actually in a T-square with Pluto and Jupiter. So if you see that Venus at 28 degrees up there in the 8th house is actually, I know it's difficult, and I meant to get all the bits out, didn't I? I was going to try and make it less spaghetti junction, and I forgot. Anyway, here we are, and here it is. So Venus is up there at 28 degrees of Libra, interestingly coming up to the end of Libra, so at a powerful degree. So Venus really is actually making a very benevolent energy here. Also in the 8th house about other people's resources, other people's money. So that is actually a sort of very positive placement for Venus. And it's a T-square, which means it's basically she's squaring both Pluto in Aquarius, and she is squaring Jupiter in Cancer. Now, these are out of sign squares, so you have to sort of dilute this energy in a sort of smaller way, in a minor way. Venus squaring Pluto is actually showing how, now this is interesting because, you know, we get a lot of doom mongers out there and everybody talking about, I mean, they've been talking about it for 5 years, about how the world economy is going to go into sort of meltdown and we'll all be broke. I mean, none of us will have any money and all the banks will be empty. You see, I just don't buy into that. And I just don't see it. And I don't see it astrologically either. So let me explain why I don't see that. First of all, I think the doom mongers are obviously sometimes coming from a place of envy of those who have their, let's say, act together in terms of how they manage their financial situation. So often it's an attack from a place of, why should you, whoever you is, have what I haven't got? So let's just keep that in one place. Now, the other thing is that why I'm picking that up is because Uranus is going to go back into Taurus. Taurus, as we know, is about money and the economy. And also Uranus brings disruption and the unexpected and shocks. Well, Uranus going back into Taurus, yes, probably will have an effect on, say, the stock markets and the rates of exchange rates. So that my feeling is, even if they take a bit of a dive, I would see it as what they call a market adjustment, a readjustment, because it's been too bullish, rather than a complete collapse. And I feel that intuitively from Venus in Libra at this point in time, and from Uranus in Gemini, that is going to retrograde back into Taurus on the 8th of November. So within the energy of this full moon. That is where I'm feeling this energy. And you see, Taurus, apart from being about money and finance, can also be about farming, agriculture, growing vegetables, you know, the food we eat. And I wonder whether Uranus's return to Taurus will see some interesting, diverse and innovative ways to improve the way farmers are able to manage their crops. Let's just put it that way. I am not a farmer. I am not an expert. But I'm just wondering if there are some benefits that Uranus will leave in Taurus before it finally moves back into Gemini for good, well, for the next 7 years, next April. So that's where I'm getting that sense of energy from. And let's have a look. Have I said everything I want to say about this full moon? Let me see. Now, I didn't talk about the Jupiter, the loose Jupiter square to Venus. This, again, Jupiter, it's expansion. It's in Cancer, which is about home, family, our roots. And because this full moon is in Taurus, which could also be about bricks and mortar, I'm just wondering whether there will be a sharp adjustment to do with the housing market. Now, I'm not saying that's in any particular country. It could be in America, in Canada, in the UK, in parts of Europe. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm picking up from the astrology, because I'm just picking up that there's an adjustment not just to the world economy, which is fine. It won't matter that it will come down a bit, because I don't see that being negative or for long term. I just see it being what it is, that this has to happen every now and then. Otherwise, things get over inflated. Do you know, it's really interesting. Here's a little bit of personal information, because this is so funny, really, because when I was young, when I was in my 20s, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I'd tried the singing career, and I just got fed up with it, because basically you have to be, you're a brand. It's not about whether Penny has a lovely voice. It doesn't matter. It was irrelevant. Could they sell me? Could they market me? And I got very disillusioned with the whole concept of the music industry at that time. So my father, in despair, managed to get me a place as a trainee money broker for a company in the City of London. Well, me and money, even though I'm a Taurus, but me with figures, numbers, fractions, oh, no, not a clue. What do they call it? Dyscalculus? Anyway, somehow I struggled through for a year before I was, because Daddy said something, sent to New York, because it might be good for me to experience living in another country. I did actually enjoy it. It was great. I was in Manhattan for a year. And there I was with the American branch of this particular finance company or money broking company. And I have to tell you, I didn't have a clue. No clue. I don't know what I did for 2 years. I have no idea, because I would be given pieces of paper and I'd just look at it and think, yeah, and someone would be saying, this is great, isn't it? And I'd be going, I don't know. And maybe I'd be told to put these numbers into in those days, telex machine, and send it to a selection of banks. So I didn't have a clue, not a clue. Anyway, none of it worked, didn't work, and I left. And I came back to England, trained as a psychotherapist. Interesting. But at least I discovered enough about myself to realize I needed to be in therapy. And that was actually what led me to train as a psychotherapist. And then the rest is history. And alongside that, all the time, ever since I was in my early teens, I was looking at astrology. That was always there. I was always trying to understand it. And one of the things that I found so hard when I was young was, of course, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have computer programs, we didn't have Solar Fire or AstroGold or any of these apps that work out all the mathematics. And I found it so hard, because astrology involves a lot of understanding of numbers and mental agility to work out patterns, angles, aspects, just to set up manually a birth chart. So that had me kind of stumped for many years, but I digress. And so what I'm saying is that the point of this story, finally get there, is that, and then I'll come on to your individual signs, is that what I discovered is that obviously something did go in, and I did learn something, because now I look at the astrology and I think about Taurus, money markets, value, etc., 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 or property, etc. I look at Uranus, I look at Venus, and I think, oh, it all makes sense to me. It's like suddenly somebody put the light on and I understand it. I understand how markets work. I understand how exchange rates work. And I understand now how that all links in with what's going on in the news. And I had no idea when I was younger. And I'm actually kind of like, wow, finally I got it. I didn't get it till the last few years, but at least I finally got it. Anyway, enough of this wittering, because you know what I'm like. So I wanted to give you, there was a quote I wanted to give you about, this is it. And then I'm going to come on to the individual zodiac signs, but this is about that Mars-Uranus opposition. And I rather like this, and I have to say this is courtesy of Chat GPT. This quote or image that Chat GPT has come up with is unknown origin to me, but it's a thunderbolt strikes a distant horizon. The traveller's path is suddenly illuminated. And you know, I think that's a really, really interesting summing up of not just the Mars-Uranus opposition, but actually of this full moon in Taurus. So I think we're going to have a high voltage full moon in Taurus. And now it's time to come on to your individual zodiac signs. And at this point, and hopefully I won't look like a twat because hopefully the chart is still there, I'm going to ask Jerry to take it down. I hope it's not there anymore, and I hope it was there. Okay, right. So this is to help Jerry. Jerry, I'm going to start now with zodiac signs. Usual way. So we start with Aries, and this is for Sun in Aries or for rising sign in Aries. Aries, it's your second house of possessions, money, finance, property, buildings. And I think that for you, Aries, this is about maybe facing revelations, maybe making big decisions around income or your own spending, or looking at the value of what you have, what you own, maybe doing almost like a little bit of a financial inventory. And there may be a question that you could ask yourself, Aries, with this full moon, which is, what do I truly value? And then you could ask yourself, and what am I willing to invest in? Now you know what the answer should be. It's not out there, it's in here. This is about you investing in yourself, in whatever way resonates with you. That could be literally doing something really nice for yourself, Aries, pampering yourself, giving yourself a spa day, that kind of, giving yourself something really good and nice. It could also be you having a look at what you have around you. Objects, maybe gold and silver, maybe all sorts of objects that you perhaps, or assets that you have that are just sitting there idling away and not really maybe bringing you any particular joy. So maybe it's time to let them go. Maybe it's time to realize their cash worth. To realize their cash worth so that you can give yourself a nice little break, a holiday, or a spa day. So maybe, Aries, just have a look around. I think this is very much a full moon about the need for you to give yourself some true value, because it may be, Aries, that you've been going through quite a challenging time because you've got Saturn and Neptune flirting with that 0 degree of your sign, causing all sorts of things to come up and face you with challenges and changes that you're not sure that you're ready to embrace or do or change. And then it disappears again. So this really is about saying, what do I truly value? Because if you don't value you, how's anyone else going to? And I think this is about you doing something to show you how much you value you. Or at least that's what I think. Let's move on to Taurus. Sun in Taurus, rising sign in Taurus. Taurus, first house. Well, you are in the spotlight with this full moon, aren't you? I think this could be quite a turning point for you. I think this could be very much also about, like I was saying for Aries, not just how much you value you, but how do you want to show yourself to the world? How do you project your image? Do you want to rebrand yourself? Is it time to literally update your wardrobe? I mean, it's funny actually as I'm intuiting this because, of course, I'm Sun Taurus. And I have been thinking that not so much about rebranding, maybe retweaking the brand, but actually thinking about, you know how you get to that point, you think, you know, Taurus, don't you? You know, I'm fed up with my wardrobe. I'm sure even you guys think this as well. I want a different look. I just want a different vibe, a different feel. And I've been having that urge, that, you know, it's like something's itching. I just want to get some different kind of image. But I also think it is bringing your attention, Taurus, to how you appear to the world. And maybe it's also about taking yourself in hand a bit, showing a little bit of Taurian discipline, which can be there. You are stubborn, you are fixed, you can be disciplined when you choose to be, and just making sure you haven't got too caught in lazy excesses. I'm thinking of that Jupiter squaring your ruling planet Venus. Have you got a little bit lazy and lackadaisical about what you put in this, let alone what comes out of it, but what you put into it? Because I think it's a turning point for you. And I think it is about letting go of any images or ways of being that really are outdated for you now. And just let it go. Let it go. You know, even if you just do one thing that is symbolic of that change. For us ladies, it could be just buying something that is slightly different in the terms of what we normally wear. Something that just resonates more with who we are. And, you know, for you guys, it could be the same. Or it could be in what you know, in how you present yourself within your working environment. You know, do you want to give a different image out? Have you been a bit too lazy in that. So maybe it's just for both, for everybody who's born under the sign of Taurus and rising signs, just smartening up their image a bit, just taking a bit more care of it. Okay, let's move on to Gemini. Sun in Gemini or rising sign in Gemini. Gemini, your 12th house. This is the inner you. This is your unconscious. This is about endings. It's about a need for some quiet time, some peace. If you have an opportunity with this full moon, Gemini, retreat. Find a way to give yourself some alone time. Find a way to give yourself the opportunity to rest, reflect, and you can always be, Gemini can always be in quite a hurry to get to where it is it's going. It wants it and it wants it now. This full moon, especially because it's Taurus, which is slow and steady, wins the race, as Jerry says. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, this is about slowing down for you, Gemini. Allow things to transform or transition or end. Don't push for them to end. It's about not making dramatic outer changes, but actually reflecting on an inner level also of the behaviors you may have which don't serve you well, that really don't do much for you. So just be aware of that, Gemini, with this full moon. Let's move on to Cancer. So this is for Sun in Cancer or for rising sign in Cancer. It's your 11th house of bigger groups, the community at large, friends, community, your hopes and wishes, projects, things you want to initiate. But also remember, it's also the house, I think, of where we get that wonderful opportunity to feel that we have a place in the cosmos, to really feel in awe of our awesomeness. You know, we don't often, we're not taught, sort of the last few generations have not been taught to be kind about themselves in public. We go, oh, I'm not very good at that, or no, I can't do that very well. Oh no, what this old thing? No, I don't like it. You know, this is actually about being able to say, you know what, I'm absolutely awesome. Because we're so afraid to say, even sometimes to ourselves, actually, I'm friggin' awesome. That, you know, we're so fearful that people will think we're bragging or narcissistic or boasting or too big for our boots. Listen, if you don't think you're awesome, who else is going to think you're awesome? This is not about sublimating your personality, your talents. This full moon, Cancer, is inviting you to, at least for you, to know for yourself, without it being inauthentic, that you are an awesome being of light. You are alive. You have love. You have talent. You have light within. You have inner beauty. You have kindness and love. And you might find as you embody this new sense of your brilliance, that some alliances drop away from you because these are people that can't take you owning your awesomeness. You didn't need them in the first place. Let them go. Make space for new people who do appreciate your awesomeness. Make space for the hopes and wishes you have to actually find fruition. Let's move on to Leo. So this is for Sun in Leo or for rising sign in Leo. Leo, 10th house, career, public image, soul path, how people out there see you in that, you know, big public stage, that arena. I think this full moon is going to see you choosing to make some quite inner decisions about the way the things you're passionate about, your career, your job, if you're self-employed, whatever it is that you're passionate about, that you're working on. This is about how you find some different ways to progress forward. This kind of links in with what I was saying to both Aries and Taurus about changing, in a sense, your image, about showing yourself as the person you have become now. Because sometimes we keep holding on to who we were last week or last month. Well, that worked then, but you know, things keep changing. Time moves. We change. Everything changes. You've got to move with the times, Leo. And yes, we know you have a lovely mane, but sometimes you have to think, is it appropriate for how I want to present myself now? Do I need to make some changes to my attitude within the realms of my work, my career? I think it's really important because there could be some unexpected changes that come along which might throw you temporarily off balance. I don't think they'll be bad changes. I think potentially they will be, whoa, okay, oh, this is good kind of feeling. So I think you've got to be careful that you don't get carried away. You must endeavor to stay grounded with any of the outer changes that might happen around you. Your job is to keep up with them and adapt. You know, fixed signs don't always find it easy to adapt. That's for the mutable signs. So adapt, Leo. If you're a Leo sun or a Leo ascendant, look at the other planets in your natal chart. Where do you have mutable energies? Where is Gemini? Where is Sagittarius? Where is Virgo? Look at what you've got in those houses and think, okay, my Mercury is in Gemini. How can I adapt with my communication? That's the way to work with it. Okay, stay grounded, Leo. Let's move on to Virgo. And this is for Sun in Virgo or for rising sign in Virgo. 9th house. This is your spiritual beliefs, your sort of psychic awareness, your travel desires, your wish for expanding your learning, for higher understanding of all the subjects that fascinate you. You might find that this full moon helps you release some old ways that you've been working with certain things, old belief systems. You might find you are able finally to say, why do I keep going over this particular subject that I want to understand more about. Maybe actually you do. You may not have, I don't know whether you listened to the bit where I was talking about how I found as I've got older, I do understand how investment markets work, stock markets, currency exchange, whereas when I was younger, I didn't have a clue. And I think you might be ready, Virgo, to acknowledge that you do actually understand and know more than you let on. And I think you'll find that new perspectives will open up for you. It's about staying open to allowing new things to come in, new learning. And maybe you too need, Virgo, to value what you already do know and start sharing that. You don't have to be the eternal student, Virgo. Acknowledge what you have learnt and start utilizing it in everything that you do. So, the other thing is, Virgo, you may seriously be deciding about travel, but doing something that involves probably something country-based, and I can see hiking and things like that, and fields and grass and mud. Taurus, just saying. Right, let's come on to Libra. Sun in Libra, or for rising sign in Libra. Libra, it's your 8th house. Shared resources, intimacy, transformation. So this full moon is very much about shared resources. And you might find that issues come up at this time which push you to make some decisions about shared resources. You might find yourself being or becoming aware that you need to maybe tweak a will. Or if you haven't actually yet made a will, maybe you are being guided by this full moon to actually do that, to actually look at what you could put in place to secure the future and give you peace of mind. I also think for you, Libra, being a sign that inhabits and loves harmony and balance and relating, that you might find with relationships that there are certain relationships or partnerships that you have that may not move beyond where they are now. There may be certain situations where people leave your life. And this will be okay because it will be transformational for you. And it's about having the ability to focus on it and allow things to leave that really don't belong with you going forwards. So it could be that there is a situation of relationships that have been intimate, that they become more separate again. And allowing the kind of natural, organic process of that particular situation. So just go with it, trust it, and it will all actually unfold in the way it's meant to. So that will actually be quite good. Let's move on to Scorpio. Scorpio, so this is for Sun in Scorpio or for rising sign in Scorpio. Well, Scorpio, of course, this is in your 7th house of significant relationships, your one-to-one relationships. What is going to come to light? what is going to unexpectedly become an issue in certain friendships or relationships, because something in this area of your life you might find has run its course, and you might realize that it's time to create some distance. And maybe you need that distance because you have other projects that you want to give more time to. Maybe there is someone around you who has been or is being too possessive with you and making you feel a little bit kind of suffocated. So I think there is something in this full moon, Scorpio, about recognizing that if you are going to really fully value yourself, and for this other person to value who you are and your individuality, you're going to have to take a bit of a stand. You're going to have to take a stand, stand back, and help others recognize that you have boundaries, that you need a certain amount of privacy and space, and that you can't be all things to all people all of the time. You love to be helpful, help someone transform, to help someone change, but not if it's at the cost of your integrity and authenticity. So look at who really is on your team, who has your back. Be aware of who has your back, because they are the people or the person that you need with you. And you could also say, are you your best friend? Are you good to you? Let's move on to Sagittarius. And this is the sun in Sagittarius or the rising sign in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, 6th house, your health, your daily routine, how you are of service to yourself, to your work, to your job, to your family. You might find this is a really helpful time to make some tweaks and revisions to how you actually run your daily routine. It's always good to give that a bit of a shake up. You know, especially now you've got Mars in your sign in Sagittarius, because I think that Mars-Uranus opposition is going to be waking you up a bit, and you're going to be thinking, just be careful before I say that, because be careful you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think you're going to want a complete makeover with certain things in your life, with your routine, with your, you know, the timetable of how you do things. I think Sagittarius, you can get bored quite quickly. And so you need that constant stimulation. Now, Mars in your sign is really going to give you that stimulation and give you the incentive to make the changes to restore balance with a sort of play, work, time balance, because there may be something that is draining your energies that needs to shift, change, or end, because you need the time to restore the balance that you have in the routines that suit you best. So that's what I'm picking up for you, Sagittarius. And now, Capricorn. Capricorn, sun in Capricorn or rising sign in Capricorn. It's your 5th house of creativity, romance, and self-expression. Well, this is quite a nice part of the chart to have the full moon in, because you might find, if there has been a romantic liaison happening in your life, that it may reach a point of decision. Either it becomes something a little bit more, well, something that moves it into the 7th house, or you decide, nah, I think we'll just be friends with benefits. It could be that kind of energy. There's certainly something with this energy that can mean it reaches some sort of crescendo, kind of climax. And if it's no longer fun, if it's become dull, boring, or too routine, if it's not fulfilling your needs anymore, Capricorn, let it go, because that way you allow the new to come in. Because if you're holding on to something that just isn't really gonna, well, it's just not doing it for you anymore, then, you know, that's not very helpful. It's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to your inner spark of life. We need situations and people in our lives that stimulate our personal growth, that make us grow, that make us feel far more optimistic and happy about life. I think this full moon is asking you and reminding you to value you and to really express your true self. Are you trying to be something you're not? Because that's not like you, Capricorn. It's really not like you at all. Be authentically you, because if you're not, then it's just really going to be damaging to you, really damaging. Let's move on to Aquarius. This is for Sun in Aquarius or for rising sign in Aquarius. Well, this is the 4th house. So this is family, this is home, this is your roots, this is your ancestors. So what this does, a full moon here, is it brings family matters and your home and living accommodation right into the spotlight. Sometimes it can literally mean that we make a decision to move, or the move is actually happening, or it's something you're perhaps considering, or you are thinking of making dramatic changes within your current living space. And it also can mean, you know, in terms of if you have family members that have been living at home for some time, it may mean that state of status quo changes, that someone, you know, a younger child may decide to move on, leave home, move in with a boyfriend or girlfriend. And that gives you a little bit of that peace and sanctuary that are more aligned with your inner life. So it gives you, and maybe this is also what you have to do, that sometimes, even if it's just a part of a room, but to try and sort of look at how you can make a part of your room or a room designated to you, to your space. It's always much easier when one lives alone, because obviously the whole place is your own space. But when we have to share our living space with others, to find that sanctuary, that space, and especially for you, Aquarius, you need space so much. You so value your alone time, your time when you can really commune with yourself and just with the cosmos. You need that very much. If that space isn't available for you, then use the energy of this full moon to create a little area that is your space, your place. Okay, and then finally, we move on to Pisces, my oceans of emotions. Hello, Pisces. Sun in Pisces, rising sign in Pisces. 3rd house of communication, your siblings, the local environment, your car, if you have one. Did you want to change your car, your means of transport? Are you getting rid of your car altogether and using public transport? Taurus full moon? Probably not. If anything, you might think of changing your car and getting something a little bit more luxurious, funds permitting. And it may be, Pisces, that there is a lot of chatter going on in your local environment. And you might find that certain connections with certain people in your environment reach a turning point. Now, that can be for the good or for the ill. It could be that certain people, they just drift away from you. They just aren't on the same page. They're not really where you are. And whereas other people, you might find you resonate with much more than you ever have done before. Somehow you both get each other. And I think there's a lovely message with this full moon, Pisces, about your self-worth, about you getting in touch with the authenticity that is within, shedding, letting go of the way you may talk about yourself to others. Do you put yourself down? Do you say, "Oh no, not me," or "Well, I'm not bad, but I'm not really that good at that"? You know, I'm not telling you exactly to blow your own trumpet, but have some, what's the word? Well, actually, just know that there are a lot of things that you're very talented at, that you're very good at. Own them. Own the things you are good at. Don't be shy of saying, if someone says, "Wow, that was awesome. The way you, I don't know, gave that public speech or that, you know, motivational speech, you're awesome." Say, "Oh, thank you. That means a lot. That really helps me." Because you don't actually set a good example for others if you deflect a compliment. You know, it's something that we have to kind of learn for ourselves. We're not taught very well to accept kindness and compliments, to actually say, "Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much." You know, we tend to go, "Oh, no, not me," or, "Oh, well, you know, I could have done it better." No. Who is this person saying that? Because actually inside, you probably think, "Well, actually, I thought I did quite well, so why aren't I saying it?" You aren't going to, you know, what it will actually mean is that you haven't done enough work on recognizing your value and that your self-esteem somewhere is down there. And it needs to be up here in alignment with who you are. So just to be aware of that, because speak your truth. Speak your truth with gentleness. Okay, and with Pisces, we come to the end of our 12 zodiac signs. And I'd just like to say thank you so much, as I always do. But I do really value your presence here and your support of myself and the channel. And I don't know when this will be up, and I don't know when you'll be watching it, but remember, I do my live stream on a Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central European Daylight Time, or actually it'll be Central European Time, because today, the day I'm recording, the 25th of October, the clocks go back tonight. So I think that's quite good. I get an extra hour, don't I? I think it works that way. I always get it. Thank God the clocks and watches and everything will do it themselves now. Thank God for that. Anyway, enough of my wittering. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And remember, like, comment, subscribe, and hype. Remember, there's this hype button. Hype the video. It probably helps it with the algorithms. On that note, I will really look forward to seeing you again soon. Have an awesome full moon in Taurus, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.